Fifth house or Prabhava, Radiance for Cancer Rising Part 1. Scorpio in the fifth house brings intensity, emotional depth, and transformational power to the domain of creative intelligence. Cancer, ruled by the moon, is nurturing, protective, and emotionally responsive, while Scorpio, ruled by Mars and Ketu, introduces passion, secrecy, and psychological depth into the expression of joy, romance, and intelligence. This pairing creates a native whose emotional life is deeply intertwined with their creative and romantic experiences. Their joy is not lighthearted but profound, seeking connection, catharsis, and emotional authenticity through the things and people they love. This house activates at ages 5, 17, 29, 41, 53, 65, and 77. Scorpio here brings a focused and almost obsessive quality to the way joy, romance, and intellect are pursued. These individuals dive deep into their creative expressions, often channeling emotional intensity into writing, art, music, or mysticism. They do not express love lightly. Relationships are all-consuming, private, and fiercely loyal. Their intelligence is not always verbal but perceptive and psychological, capable of reading subtext, moods, and hidden motives. They often learn through emotional upheaval and express through deep exploration, seeking transformation through their work or romantic entanglements. Mars, as a co-ruler of this house, energizes the creative mind with drive, focus, and strategic insight. These natives are bold thinkers, with powerful emotional instincts driving their creative process. Their intelligence often has a probing quality. They're not satisfied with surface-level truths. Whether as writers, performers, or lovers, they express through intensity. They may also exhibit a protective instinct toward their children or creative projects, guarding them with fierce emotional investment. Their joy grows when they feel in control of their inner world and when their creations reflect their emotional truth. Ketu, the other ruler, brings depth, mysticism, and detachment, suggesting that while their creative and romantic life is intense, it may also be marked by phases of withdrawal or transformation. These individuals often go through cycles of intense attachment followed by letting go, especially in matters of love or parenting. Their intelligence has a spiritual or occult flavor, drawn toward subjects like psychology, symbolism, or metaphysics. They radiate when they embrace the sacredness of emotional experience without needing constant external affirmation. Emotionally, they may find it hard to relax in love or creative expression. Scorpio's presence here can create suspicion, emotional secrecy, or the need to be in control. Joy becomes a private experience, one they protect rather than share freely. They may experience love as a form of surrender or creative output as a kind of healing ritual. They find inner peace when they trust their own emotional cycles and stop fearing the loss or betrayal they unconsciously anticipate. Physiologically, Scorpio in the fifth house links joy and creativity with the reproductive organs, digestive system, and hormonal processes. Emotional intensity may manifest as digestive turbulence or cyclic emotional instability, especially during creative blocks or romantic confusion. These natives benefit from solitary creative practices, therapeutic journaling, or involvement with emotionally charged art forms. Restoring emotional balance requires them to express without fear, even if what they reveal is raw or shadowed. In early childhood, they may have experienced emotional intensity in learning or romantic matters, possibly through secrecy, betrayal, or premature responsibility. Their early expressions of love or talent may have been hidden, misunderstood, or suppressed. As adults, they reclaim joy by allowing it to be authentic and unfiltered, expressing what others may hesitate to say. Their creativity often comes from confronting the hidden, turning trauma into transformation, and love into fierce devotion. At age 5, their emotional perceptions of the world begin to form through power dynamics or symbolic play. At 17, they experience emotional upheavals that define their romantic or expressive patterns. At 29, they become intensely attached to their creative or parenting roles. By 41, they begin to recognize that their deepest radiance lies not in perfection, but in transformation, where every emotional scar becomes a mark of insight and soulful expression. Their brilliance is born in emotional truth and creative courage. Fifth house or Prabhava, the radiance of Cancer Rising, Part 2. When Moon and Mars conjoin in the fifth house, emotional fire merges with psychological drive. The Moon brings sensitivity, imagination, and instinctual responsiveness, while Mars adds passion, direction, and intensity. This conjunction can form a powerful Chandra-Mangal yoga, channeling emotional energy into fierce creative output. These natives may express themselves through emotionally charged art, intense romantic experiences, or powerful mentorship roles. They love with urgency, parent with protective zeal, and create with visceral honesty. At its best, this yoga fuels emotional courage. At its worst, it can create volatility in love or obsessive emotional control in parenting. Moon and Ketu together here create deep emotional detachment and internalized sensitivity. The Moon offers emotional connection, while Ketu brings spiritual aloofness and inner focus. This can manifest as someone who processes love and joy privately, often through symbolic, mystical, or solitary channels. Creativity may thrive in silence, but personal relationships can feel ghosted or emotionally elusive. When positively expressed, this yoga fosters deep spiritual creativity, psychic perception, and healing through art. When afflicted, it leads to emotional confusion or romantic dissociation, with joy often buried beneath past emotional scars. Mars and Jupiter in the fifth form, an empowering combination of discipline and expansive creative intelligence. Mars offers energy and drive. Jupiter brings wisdom, ethics, and purpose. Together, they create the potential for a powerful Dharma-Karma Adhipati yoga if Mars rules the 10th and Jupiter the 9th, promoting purpose-driven leadership in teaching, sports, education, or strategy. These individuals may channel their emotional intensity into motivating others, excelling in fields where justice, youth empowerment, or high-stakes creativity are involved. If afflicted, however, the same yoga can bring moral rigidity or controlling tendencies in romantic or parental roles. Mars and Venus together create a dynamic blend of passion and sensual creativity. Mars contributes action and drive, Venus brings pleasure, artistry, and emotional resonance. This combination, when balanced, results in powerful romantic magnetism, creative flair, and an ability to navigate both attraction and expression with confidence. These natives love with heat and depth, and their creativity often carries erotic, aesthetic, or emotionally provocative charge. When imbalanced, this yoga can bring romantic turbulence, emotional intensity that burns too fast, or jealousy that stifles joy. Jupiter and Moon in the fifth bring nurturing expansion and intuitive wisdom. The Moon creates emotional sensitivity. Jupiter adds ethical compass, insight, and emotional generosity. Together, they form a Gaja Kasari yoga, bestowing a noble emotional nature, deep intelligence, and mentoring power. These individuals often guide others through emotional or creative challenges, parenting with patience and wisdom. They may be drawn to spiritual education, emotional counseling, or heart-centered artistic endeavors. If afflicted, however, overindulgence or emotional overconfidence can cloud clarity, especially in love or risk-taking decisions. Sun and Mars together energize the fifth house with leadership and willpower. The Sun provides identity and creative pride. Mars adds assertiveness and focused execution. This yoga supports competitive success in fields like performance, sports, or politics. They may parent with discipline, create with bold conviction, and lead with fiery charisma. If positively placed, it fosters unshakable confidence. If afflicted, it can bring arrogance, dominance in love, or a tendency to force one's views on children or creative collaborators. Mercury and Mars bring analytical drive and technical creativity. Mercury sharpens intellect and communication. Mars channels it into action. These natives may excel in strategic games, investigative arts, or emotionally charged writing. Romantic expression becomes tactical, sometimes overly calculated, sometimes thrillingly direct. Their children may inherit sharp minds or high expectations. When well placed, this forms a yoga for problem-solving brilliance. When afflicted, it can breed impatience in communication, sarcasm, or critical parenting styles. Sun and Ketu in the fifth house can bring spiritual radiance and detachment from ego-driven creativity. The Sun gives identity and authority. Ketu erases worldly attachments. This yoga often creates individuals with deep insight into metaphysical or symbolic systems, astrology, tantra, depth psychology. They may be indifferent to conventional romantic validation, creating instead for personal liberation or emotional purification. When balanced, this yoga leads to powerful inner light and transformation through loss. When afflicted, it may manifest as disconnection from joy, creative blocks, or emotional austerity mistaken for strength. Fifth house or Prabhava, Radiance for Scorpio rising, part 1. Pisces in the fifth house brings imagination, spiritual depth, and emotional fluidity into the sphere of creative intelligence. Scorpio, ruled by Mars and Ketu, is intense, private, and transformative, while Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, introduces gentleness, mysticism, and poetic expression into the native's approach to joy, romance, and intellect. This pairing produces an individual whose creativity flows from emotional and spiritual undercurrents, whose romantic life is soulful and idealistic, and whose joy is sourced not through performance, but through transcendence and resonance. This house activates at ages 5, 17, 29, 41, 53, 65, and 77. Pisces here lends dreaminess and intuitive richness to the mind. These individuals often excel in music, poetry, visual arts, or any form of expression where the abstract, the symbolic, or the emotional can be woven into form. Their intelligence is nonlinear, perceptive rather than procedural. They often rely on mood, inspiration, and symbolic resonance to guide thought rather than logic alone. They learn best through emotion, story, and metaphor, and they teach or mentor with softness and inner attunement. Jupiter, ruling this house, amplifies spiritual intelligence and emotional generosity. These individuals often have a philosophical or devotional approach to art, children, and romance. They seek to uplift, to heal, and to inspire. Their joy is magnified when their creativity serves a higher purpose, when it brings beauty, hope, or healing to others. Romantic relationships are idealized, often colored by fantasy or longing. Love for them is less about structure and more about surrender. Parenting may take on a spiritual tone, marked by sensitivity and a wish to nurture the child's soul, not just their skills. The emotional world here is permeable, empathetic, and often ungrounded. These natives feel deeply, love poetically, and often grieve silently. Joy is expansive but unstable. It flows in tides. They may romanticize pain or find it hard to distinguish between what is real and what is projected, especially in early romantic experiences. Their creativity often becomes a sanctuary, a place where they can express what they cannot always articulate directly. Their radiance emerges when they allow emotional truth and creative imagination to coexist without shame or self-editing. Physiologically, Pisces in the fifth house connects the creative and emotional currents with the feet, lymphatic system, and pineal gland. Emotional overwhelm may manifest as fatigue, escapism, or hormonal imbalance. Healing comes through movement, spiritual rituals, water therapy, or creative flow states. Meditation, dream work, or intuitive journaling help ground their inner world. Their peace is found when they let go of perfection and allow their emotional experience to move through them like music or water, without resistance. In early learning and romantic experience, they may have absorbed more than they understood, feeling everything deeply but struggling to name it. Their creative talent may have emerged in solitude, and they may have been drawn to fantasy, imagination, or spiritual symbols. As adults, they reclaim joy by trusting their emotional wisdom and expressing it freely. Their brilliance is not crafted, it's channeled. Their radiance lies in giving form to feeling and voice to the unspoken. At age 5, they may express joy through imaginary play, music, or mimicry. By 17, romantic longing and artistic inspiration often deepen, even if unfulfilled. At 29, they may step into soulful mentoring, expressive teaching, or healing arts. By 41, they integrate personal vulnerability with universal compassion, discovering that their pain and vision can serve as a source of light for others. This placement supports careers in spiritual education, expressive arts, counseling, or any field where intuition and creativity are allowed to merge. They may guide others gently, through image, emotion, or energy rather than instruction. Whether healing through music, parenting with empathy, or writing poetry that mirrors the human heart, their joy uplifts. Their intelligence is quiet but oceanic. Their light does not shine, it glows. Fifth house or Prabhava, the radiance of Scorpio rising, part 2. When Jupiter and Moon conjoin in the fifth house, emotional grace meets spiritual wisdom. The Moon brings receptivity and intuitive flow. Jupiter adds expansion, faith, and moral depth. Together, they form the auspicious Gaja Kesari Yoga, blessing the native with emotional intelligence, nurturing brilliance, and an ability to guide others through tenderness and philosophical insight. These individuals often radiate warmth in education, parenting, or expressive arts. Their romantic and creative life is infused with devotion and emotional generosity. When afflicted, this yoga can create over-idealization in love, excessive emotional dependence, or blurred boundaries with children. Jupiter and Venus together create a yoga of creative refinement and devotional beauty. Jupiter grants wisdom and upliftment. Venus adds aesthetic sensitivity and a longing for harmony. These natives often produce elegant, spiritually infused artistic work, poetry, devotional music, sacred dance, or healing storytelling. In love, they are generous, romantic, and idealistic. When benefic, this yoga leads to deep romantic joy and creations that inspire collective healing. If afflicted, it may result in escapism through fantasy, excessive indulgence, or disillusionment in love when ideals collapse under reality. Moon and Venus in Pisces in the 5th house create a deeply sensitive and emotionally artistic personality. The moon softens and reflects emotional tides. Venus offers beauty, pleasure, and relational magnetism. Their radiance is luminous, and their ability to express through visual art, music, or performance is naturally elevated. This yoga often expresses through nurturing children with creativity or romantic bonds based on shared emotion and artistic resonance. If well placed, love becomes a soulful sanctuary. If afflicted, the native may struggle with codependency, emotional overwhelm, or a tendency to romanticize suffering. Jupiter and Mercury in conjunction here produce poetic intelligence and mystical articulation. Jupiter expands the mind's moral compass. Mercury channels it into symbolic language. These natives often become lyricists, intuitive counselors, or teachers who blend intellect with compassion. Their intelligence flourishes in environments that value nuance, story, and soul. When this yoga is healthy, it supports healing communication and creative insight. When afflicted, it may cause confusion between facts and feelings, or idealistic messaging that lacks practical grounding. Moon and Mercury together here make for emotionally articulate creators. The moon gives sensitivity and rhythm. Mercury offers clarity and narrative form. This yoga favors emotionally attuned writing, teaching, and child guidance. It helps the native process emotional content through language, writing journals, lyrics, or children's stories. When afflicted, however, the mind may be clouded by feelings, leading to mood-driven thinking or difficulty in staying logically consistent in love or artistic work. Sun and Jupiter together create radiant moral leadership in the 5th house. The Sun infuses willpower and self-expression. Jupiter gives meaning and benevolence. This combination supports dharmic leadership in education, spiritual arts, or healing. These natives may parent with values, guide with dignity, or create with vision. When well placed, it grants visibility through integrity. When afflicted, however, it can bring spiritual arrogance, overconfidence in beliefs, or pressure to live up to lofty ideals in romance or creative roles. Venus and Mercury conjoined here form a yoga for lyrical refinement and sweet expression. Venus lends emotional fluidity and grace. Mercury offers poetic structure and soft intellect. These natives often express love through music, words, and gentle creativity. In romance, they are expressive and affectionate, often bonding through shared artistic interest or spiritual learning. When afflicted, they may use words to charm without grounding or fall into escapist flirtation lacking emotional integrity. Sun and Venus together here bring charisma, emotional devotion, and a subtle glow to the romantic and creative self. The Sun gives presence and identity. Venus refines this into romantic allure and artistic warmth. This combination supports devotional art, radiant love, or spiritual mentorship through personal magnetism. If benefic, their love life becomes a source of sacred self-expression. If afflicted, the native may seek admiration in love while struggling with emotional vulnerability, leading to silent heartbreak masked by poetic aesthetics. Moon and Ketu in the 5th house create a psychic and introspective emotional pattern. The moon provides depth and empathy. Ketu withdraws from worldly emotion and redirects it inward. These natives may express joy and creativity through solitary practices like dream journaling, mystic art, or silent retreats. In parenting, they may feel karmic ties or detachment cycles. This yoga, when integrated, brings intuitive genius and emotionally healing insight. When imbalanced, It can cause emotional numbness, chronic dissatisfaction in love, or difficulty staying emotionally anchored. For Scorpio risings, Pisces in the fifth forms yogas, where sensitivity becomes power and creativity becomes a sacred offering. Their challenge lies in balancing surrender with structure and emotion with clarity. When they allow their inner world to express without losing their boundaries, they radiate like a healing mist, gentle yet profound, private yet deeply moving. Their joy is not loud, it's devotional. Their brilliance flows not through perfection, but through the sacredness of their feeling. Fifth house, or Prabhava, Radiance for Pisces rising, Part 1. Cancer in the fifth house brings emotional richness, intuitive creativity, and deep feeling into the realm of intelligence, romance, and joy. Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, is imaginative, fluid, and spiritually receptive, while Cancer, ruled by the Moon, deepens emotional responsiveness, maternal instincts, and sensitivity to rhythms of the heart. This pairing creates a native whose joy flows from emotional security, artistic nourishment, and soulful connection. Their intelligence is intuitive and emotive, their romance is nurturing and devoted, their creativity flows like water, reflective, nourishing, and cyclical. This house activates at ages 5, 17, 29, 41, 53, 65, and 77. Cancer here infuses the creative mind with feeling, nostalgia, and instinctive tenderness. These individuals often channel their intelligence into emotionally resonant mediums, storytelling, songwriting, visual memory, or child-centered learning. Their creativity thrives in safe, emotionally familiar spaces where expression is allowed to ebb and flow. In romance, they are caring and protective, often preferring long-term emotional bonds over flings. Their idea of joy is not about performance, it's about emotional belonging. The moon as lord of this house links the mind to cyclical moods, psychic sensitivity, and imaginative depth. For Pisces risings who are already tuned to the ethereal and unseen, the moon adds emotional embodiment. They feel their way into knowledge and love, learning not just through logic, but through resonance. Parenting, if chosen, becomes a path of emotional legacy. These natives guide children with empathy and unconditional support. Their intelligence is most radiant when it wraps around the heart and speaks without needing precision. Emotionally, joy is delicate and attuned to inner tides. These individuals may carry a private creative world full of memory, dream, and longing. They need emotional safety to fully express themselves, whether in art, love, or learning. If early life lacked emotional affirmation, they may hesitate to share their brilliance, fearing rejection. Their romantic nature is loyal, protective, and sometimes shy, but deeply committed once trust is established. They are romantic idealists, seeking sanctuary through affection and soulful expression. Physiologically, Cancer in the fifth house connects the emotional and creative core to the chest, heart, and ribcage. When emotionally blocked, they may experience tightness in breath, water retention, or digestive issues linked to emotional repression. Restoring joy comes through music, food, art therapy, or quiet rituals with loved ones. Emotional peace is reawakened when their environment feels emotionally safe, aesthetically comforting, and gently rhythmic. In childhood or early romance, they may have absorbed feelings deeply without knowing how to express them. Their earliest creative expressions may have emerged through role play, caring for dolls or animals, or writing imaginary stories to soothe themselves. As adults, they reclaim radiance by trusting that their softness is not weakness, but the very source of their emotional brilliance. At age 5, they may be found comforting others or expressing through imaginative play. By 17, they long for emotional connection and love, often forming deep attachments that shape their early sense of self. At 29, they may become emotionally invested mentors, artists, or caregivers. By 41, they understand that their joy doesn't need to be explained, only felt, honored, and shared with those who truly see them. This placement supports careers in early childhood education, creative writing, music therapy, caregiving, or expressive healing arts. These natives radiate when they are allowed to nurture through creation, whether by raising a child, telling a moving story, or creating a sanctuary of belonging through their work. Their brilliance is lunar, gentle, ever-shifting, and quietly magnetic. They don't shine to impress, they shine to soothe. Fifth house or Prabhava, the radiance of Pisces rising. When Moon and Jupiter conjoin in the fifth house, a nurturing light fuses with expansive wisdom. The Moon provides emotional depth and intuitive flow. Jupiter brings guidance, hope, and spiritual grace. This auspicious Gajakesari yoga enhances emotional generosity, moral creativity, and protective parenting. These individuals radiate warmth and love, mentor with compassion, and create through memory and faith. Their joy grows in devotional relationships and emotionally honest expression. If afflicted, this yoga may result in emotional overextension, unrealistic romantic ideals, or excessive emotional dependency, especially in parenting. Moon and Venus together in Cancer amplify emotional beauty, sensual empathy, and nurturing magnetism. The Moon grounds feeling, Venus beautifies it. This yoga supports emotionally resonant artistic creation through music, poetry, cooking, or nurturing relationships. In romance, they express affection tenderly, craving emotional security and shared comfort. In parenting, they are loving, protective, and attuned to a child's emotional landscape. When well placed, this yoga brings emotionally healing radiance. When afflicted, it may lead to emotional clinging, idealized love, or suppressed creative desires in fear of rejection. Moon and Mercury in conjunction form a yoga of emotionally expressive intelligence. The Moon gives sensitivity. Mercury articulates it. These natives think in feeling tones and speak from the heart. This yoga supports lyrical writing, gentle teaching, or emotionally rich parenting communication. When benefic, it gives mental emotional coherence and the ability to soothe through speech. When afflicted, it may cause mental restlessness, mood-driven thinking, or emotional confusion in love, oscillating between logic and feeling. Moon and Mars together create passionate emotional assertion and protective instincts. The Moon draws inwards, Mars pushes outward. These natives love fiercely, parent defensively, and express creativity with emotional fire. This yoga supports activism through emotion, emotionally charged art, or passionate maternal leadership. If well placed, it gives emotional courage and powerful creative drive. If afflicted, it may result in mood volatility, possessiveness in romance, or reactive parenting styles. Venus and Jupiter in conjunction in the fifth house brings divine affection and artistic expansion. Venus lends beauty and devotion, Jupiter enhances generosity, ethics, and grace. This yoga supports devotional art, spiritual romance, and mentoring through emotional aesthetics. These natives may love through gifting, rituals, or creative nurturing. If benefic, this is a deeply romantic, abundant creative signature. If afflicted, it can create over-idealization in relationships, aesthetic overindulgence, or disappointment when joy doesn't match imagined perfection. Sun and Moon together bring light and reflection into emotional self-expression. The Sun gives identity and visibility. The Moon provides rhythm and emotional tone. These natives may possess balanced inner vitality, able to both feel and shine. When benefic, this yoga supports radiant, emotionally coherent creativity and mature emotional leadership. When afflicted, however, ego and emotion may conflict, leading to inner unrest or dramatic expression of unmet emotional needs. Sun and Venus in the fifth create artistic self-esteem and radiant romantic charisma. The Sun contributes confidence and purpose. Venus offers style, sensuality, and emotional grace. This yoga favors performance, dance, or any creative outlet where the self is the medium of beauty. In romance, they seek admiration and affection, often expressing devotion through art or emotional generosity. If benefic, it produces elegant creators and confident lovers. If afflicted, there may be pride in love, emotional dependence on validation, or difficulty handling rejection. Moon and Ketu in the fifth house create a yoga of spiritualized emotion and intuitive detachment. The Moon brings depth, Ketu offers mysticism and transcendence. This pairing produces reflective, private creatives, those who feel deeply but don't always emote outwardly. Their art may be symbolic, their parenting karmic, and their joy internalized. When balanced, this yoga leads to intuitive brilliance and healing creativity. When afflicted, it can bring emotional numbness, dissociation in romance, or feelings of emotional invisibility. Mercury and Jupiter together offer articulate philosophy and imaginative moral guidance. Mercury gives form to thought, Jupiter adds breadth and ethical anchoring. These natives are thoughtful educators, storytellers, or parent guides who use emotion-laced logic to inspire. If benefic, they combine feeling with reason to uplift. If afflicted, They may talk over their emotional truth or create intellectual frameworks that evade deeper vulnerability. For Pisces risings, Cancer in the fifth crafts yogas where heart becomes art and love becomes sanctuary. Their challenge is learning to let joy flow rather than protect it. Their brilliance emerges when they trust emotional authenticity more than perfection. Their radiance doesn't dazzle with performance. It glows with prose, with presence, the kind that holds, heals, and gently reminds others of what it means to feel safe in joy.